my Jaguars versus my Chargers in what looked like it was going to be horrific. Trevor Lawrence, evolving, came together. They win the pseudo playoff game last week, right? Oh, boy. 3 interceptions, basically as quick as you can do them. And, man, you're like, I think everyone, it wasn't a consensus, but we know the deal. The Chargers are super talented. You've heard my full turn on Staley. I've loved Herbert. That whole roster, we do it with baseball a lot. If the Texas Rangers were the Boston Red Sox, I think there'd be a ton of Red Sox hype. There's not really a lot of Texas Rangers hype. Everyone's like, let's see.
They should be better this year.
They'll be better. The Chargers, and, they have this stigma to them a little bit. I mean, going back to Phillip Rivers and a couple of those teams, it always just kind of felt underachieving. It feels like we've always liked the Chargers. The Chargers go up 27-0 in Duval. And, man, with how bad Trevor Lawrence looked, and, that we're talking, going back to the talent conversation, tying it to the Seahawks, Niners, Chargers, Jags. Austin Eckler might be number 1 fantasy pick next year. He's pretty well known in the football realm for what he's done. He wasn't flashy for a long time, but he's kind of a stud. Justin Herbert, people drool over him. I'm one of them. Keenan Allen, you've known him for a while. Mike Williams didn't play because he got hurt in a game that didn't matter for the Chargers last week. And they've got a ton of dudes on defense where the Jags, Trevor Lawrence has evolved, and him and Etienne, the running back, they're teammates at Clemson, so you kind of know that. Evan Ingram, some recycled Giants good, although he puts up a big game. I just talked about Christian Kirk, a guy who felt like the third receiver in Arizona, a good Arizona offense. Zay Jones is kind of a retread. Marvin Jones Jr., how about that?
Still going.
That you're doing all right, well, this was the playoffs. Maybe it's Herbert's season, and we'll get the Chargers hype train going. Another sports gambling story. I mentioned that I was with a group of guys drinking all weekend, so there was a lot of sports bets placed. All the boys were jagging off. We placed. I hit the Jaguars when they were down. What was it? 24-0. Couple other fellas got it there. Momentum's a real thing in sports, and the Jaguars at home scoring a touchdown before the end of the half was massive. It was a sign of hope. It was, okay, we can do this. It's not going to be a complete melt from Trevor Lawrence, but is it going to be enough? They stop him. First drive out of the half. Chargers ball. They get stopped. 14-play drive, touchdown for the Jaguars. Chargers get a field goal. 5 plays, touchdown. Missed field goal for the Chargers. 14 plays. Touchdown. It's 30-28. That was it. Jaguars put the final drive together. Chargers 3 plays, 5 yards to get stopped again. My goodness, including a sack. Jags come down, kick the field goal. We live in a time of NFL offense that basically records will be broken. We saw it on Thanksgiving, literally the biggest comeback in NFL history. That 27 points is just, it's,
can't let up.
Back in the day when you handed off to Jerome Bettis 2 out of 3 plays, or Emmitt Smith, yeah, we were chewing clock. We weren't ripping off those big boy plays. It's a different sport now. It feels like any number is kind of in reach, and it was in a playoff game. Staley, he had a couple moments in this game. I And I think the bigger thing, and where I get to take a little bit of a victory lap on this, is just players know. Players are smart. They shouldn't have been playing last week. Mike Williams should have been out there. One of the, you can't do an argument for best receiver in football, but one of the bigger, freak show bail you out wide receivers in football, if everything's locked up and that guy's in one-on-one or even not one-on-one, you throw it up there.
Chance.
He's pulled some stuff down, man. That guy wasn't on the field with this team, and as that momentum starts to go and go and go, Trevor Lawrence gets a little more confidence. Duval's rocking, and they get it done. And, man, happy for the Jaguars. Happy for myself with the Brandon Staley stuff because for some of the football stuff, as I've told you guys, I don't know. It's a lot. I shouldn't say it's a lot more fan perspective because that's also what we're doing in baseball. But have a little better grasp of playing and pitch sequencing than, NFL play calling. And that's just my experience. I don't know, man. I just kind of had you guys know them as my shower thoughts. I think there's going to be an argument in a few years. It's how much I like Herbert. And he missed a couple throws. And, he had the rib thing earlier in the year. He shouldn't go fully unscathed from this. Or at least let's see what happens next. I think there's going to be a time when we look back at Brandon Staley and we're just like, that dude was not it. Because the Chargers' talent is flat out there. And when I was putting all that in the blender, it came back to one thing, and it was Staley. And I don't know. I think the spotlight is obviously going to be on him now more than ever, blowing a huge, huge playoff lead. And good for Trevor Lawrence and the Jags as they continue to build up the program there. Tough matchup for them next week. Going to Kansas City. But, the Chargers on paper, if they were playing Kansas City, I think we'd be like, yeah, they can go
shot.
They go toe-to-toe with them. Jaguars kind of can't. I mean, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Blah, blah, blah. Get it.
One game.
Bills, Dolphins. Sure. Chargers, man. The boys had a good time, though. We won some money on that one. And that was the other kind of nice thing of this weekend. Outside of Bills, Dolphins, and New York Giants, because at this point I do have a bias. The weekend played out pretty true to what I had thought or kind of believed. I mean, we'll get to Bengals Baltimore at the end. That one, as I alluded to, a lot of old divisional stuff there and guys that have bumped heads a lot, and that game could have gone either way, and it looked like it was heading one way until absolute chaos, which I've got a fun story about that.